everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is June 14th, 2021, and yeah, we're in a sort of a lull week here. We did get some kit releases. I think everything this week is going to be an overseas release, as far as I remember from everything that I've got prepped for the video today. There are no kit announcements, so let's just hop over and get into it. We do have a couple of teases, actually, from the folks over at Bell Kits in the fine country of Belgium. They had some things on display at a store called Domino, which is sort of their owned retailer, if you will, their own sort of storefront distribution. You can buy things actually here in the United States from Domino. It's not necessarily the cheapest way to go buy things most of the time because of the exchange rate that the US dollar has with the euro, and of course throughout the pandemic, getting things from Belgium sent to the United States was a problem for a while because there was no mail between the two countries. But mail service has been restored. You know, international shipping is still kind of iffy because all mail goes on passenger flights, and there still, you know, is not really any travel between the EU and the US at this point. But all that being said, let's take a look at some other things that are actually modeling related rather than going on some sort of coronavirus tangent. So they had these on display. We'll talk about the Hyundai here in a second in the front, but in the back there, you see the two different versions of the upcoming Citroen rally car. There's going to be a tarmac version as well as a gravel off-road, if you will, version. The gravel version looks particularly ridiculous because of the almost exactly precise U-shaped wheel wells that the Citroens have, but those are supposed to be out at the end of summer. We mentioned that several months ago when those release date was announced. Now, whether end of summer is a traditional end of summer in the sense of like being a parent, the end of your summer is when your kids go back to school at the end of August, or if they mean end of summer in a astrological sense, as in it'll be the middle of September, not totally sure. There hasn't been any like further guidance. They have not shipped as of yet, as far as I know. Usually, Bell Kits does a big thing when they ship their releases, where they'll tell you what boat it's on, and if you're so inclined, you can use a maritime tracker to watch the boat travel around. But yeah, so in the background there, like I said, the two Citroen cars, they've got night lights already built into them, and there's PE, as all Bell Kits tend to come with. And you see, sort of like I said, a beginning of the decal sheet there. Both cars are the corporate factory Citroens, so they have more or less identical liveries. It's just different drivers and different race-specific sponsorships, but overall, the two kits are probably pretty much the same. I don't know as of yet whether or not it's going to be one of those deals where they've been doing, where one version of the car has all the parts and the decals are just a difference. Like, will both of these Citroens have tarmac and gravelly setups, or will you have to buy the specific kit for the specific setup? Because at this point, these Citroens are a couple of years old and they're being used by privateers at this point, so there's other options for them. You know, at this juncture, we'll see. We'll see what happens with those as they come along. Now, the big thing that they were doing, of course, is the test shots for the Hyundai i20, which will be coming up, as you see here, at the end of 2021. So the first kit of the two Hyundai i20s that are planned, I believe there's another one planned beyond this, as there is another Hyundai in the list of kits that are coming, as far as the overall distribution list and plan list they have, probably that goes through the end of next year at this point. Still, this will be the first one as a Tour de Course winner for 2019, and it will have the special box art to commemorate their 10th anniversary. They started back in 2011, and so end of 2021. So hopefully it will be out by Christmas, and they have a couple of other more closer detailed test shots of the Hyundai as well. Looks like a Hyundai, I guess. It's kind of fun to see these things as rally cars because they've got the big blocky over fenders that modern rally cars have at this point. And yeah, I mean, looks decent for a first round test shot. I'm sure there'll be things there they'll correct and things they'll go back from, but it does obviously show some of the very beginning basic PE that will be included in this kit as well, for like the radiator opening and the grill, the hood coolers for the brakes, and well, it looks like there are PE brake faces on the brakes there as well on that. But so those will be your rally kits from Bell Kits for 2021 there. Like I said, the Citroens are supposed to be out mid-summer, end of summer, and so we'll we'll see what that actually ends up looking like when it's all said and done with. So let's go to the kit releases. Again, these are all going to be all overseas things. First up, we have Fujimi. It's a kit manufacturer we haven't really talked about in terms of kit releases in quite some time. This month they've reissued their Spoon Sports branded Hondas. So first up you have this, the Integra Type R. What's kind of interesting about these kits is because the Type Rs were add-ons to the original Integra and original Civic that I'm going to show you here in a second. They do come with left-hand drive because these were meant to be sold domestically and internationally as far as how the cars were constructed in the model, being they have right-hand drive for JDM, left-hand drive for export. So those parts do carry over. Now those Type Rs tend to have a different dashboard that has less to it. The Civic, for example, takes, I think the Type R deletes the air conditioning back in the day, and the dashboard's much simpler and lightweight. That's another thing about the Type Rs. But you can always just throw the left-hand drive dashboard in there. They do come with left-hand drive wipers and be like, yeah, it's a Type R, look, bolt-on pieces, because the Type Rs were never sold here in the United States. So it's really the only difference between this Spoon Sports Integra Type R and a regular Fujimi Integra is a front lift spoiler. The wheels and the mirrors are different. The hood is a giant piece of carbon fiber decal. Good luck getting that to sit down. It sort of is what it is with that. Fujimi decals are sometimes not the easiest things to work with. And then the other thing here is the Spoon Sports Civic Type R, which again has the same wheels, the same mirrors. Now the mirrors aren't actually used in the box art of the Integra, but they're the exact same mirrors. And then of course it also has the carbon fiber hood decal as well. The Type R pieces, like the interior bits, the seats and things like that, there are Type R non-Spoon Civic and Integra. So those parts exist anyway, and the Spoon parts are just the wheels, the mirrors, and in the case of the Integra, a front lip spoiler. Actually, I think there might be a front lip spoiler on the Civic as well, but the actual specific Spoon parts are very, very few and far between. That doesn't mean they're not exactly the most accurate Spoon Sports vehicles in the world, but it's either these or buying a like $80 transkit from Zoomon to actually make a real Spoon Sports Civic and Integra. So I leave that type of purchasing decision up to you. Depends on how accurate you wish those kits to be. Platts released another version of the M3 from Nunu. This is a Japanese release only, and it is window masks added to the 24 Hours of Spa winning Warsteiner Schnitzer car. There was no shots of the actual box art, so you get this layout instead, which shows you the window masks down there on the bottom. So much like the previous window mask cars, the kit itself is identical to the Spa release. It just has the window masks tossed in there from Platts. And again, those are only a Japanese release. You will not find them at retailers here in the United States. You won't find them at retailers overseas elsewhere. So with that in mind, pay attention to where you look for them, I guess would be what I'm trying to think of there. Over at Hasegawa, we got a couple of reissues this week as well. First up, you have the Lamborghini Miura P400 Super Veloce in the detailed version with the yellow body. As we mentioned, the PE set that comes with this, that includes the 28 individual piece hood grill PE frets, was just released not too terribly long ago with just a white-bodied car. I can't remember what the color of the car was. I think it was orange on the box art. There's nothing at all different about this kit from that one that was released 6 months ago, other than the fact that this one is molded in yellow, and that's it. I, again, don't see why. I don't see why. I don't know that having it molded in color is that big of a sales thing. It must be. It must be enough of a draw-in for consumers, particularly in Japan, that can just polish the body from the mold seams and go for a naked, and this would be a good kit for a naked build in the sense of not painting it. But yeah, there's nothing at all to write home here about other than the fact that it's molded in yellow. And then the other Hasegawa release is this, the 1988 Japanese Touring Car Championship Series Season Minolta Toyota Corolla 11A92. It is the car that represents the 1988 Intertech race at Fuji at the end of the season. That is why this car has the 3-digit car numbers on it. Usually the 2-digit, actually, well, in the case of these cars in real life, they were a 1-digit car number because the 37 and the 36 were on the Supras in 1988. But they only include the Intertech race. That would be the one difference between this kit and the B-Max kit that came out several years ago. Is the B-Max kit actually includes the decals and the drivers' names and everything for the regular season cars, which just have a 6 and a 7 number on them, as opposed to the 136, 137s that are on this. They do include both decals for both team cars. The 137 car finished first in its class, not the race, but the class in this race, and then the 136 finished third in its class in this race. So it's a kind of a variation, if you will. There's no new parts to this. It's just decals. It does, again, represent the winning versions of this car. It is, again, when, if ever, is the B-Max version with Minolta livery going to be reissued? Probably not. So it is a fresh take on those decals. That B-Max kit's a little hard to get a hold of at this point, being several years out of production. So I see the point to it, but again, if you want to build the regular season car, you do need the B-Max kit instead. Over at Aoshima, a couple of reissues this week. First up, on the straight reissue train, you have this, the Nissan Skyline GTR in its V-Spec 2 NER edition. This would be the car that, if you were to do it as a correct V-Spec NER, would be in the Millennium Jade green paint job. I believe all of the NERs were painted that color. At least I think that they were, based on the research that I've done, but there's probably a few that were different colors along the way. But again, if you want to do a true V-Spec NER, it should be Millennium Jade green. There were only a few hundred of them ever built, much like the Nismo versions. I'm trying to think what the heck, the thing was right there in my mind, and then it went away. The Z-Tunes. The Z-Tunes being, all of them were silver except the one that was left midnight blue. These were a special car commemorating the Nuremberg cars, because they did race some R34s at Nürburgring, and they were, again, all green. You can just build a straight V-Spec 2 out of it and paint whatever color you want to, because that's a thing as well. But yeah, if this is, again, was sold as, because they sell a V-Spec 2 kit just regularly, but this was sold specifically as the Nuremberg tribute car. So there's that. Also reissued this week, you got the Mazda Speed AutoZam AZ1, the little cute K cars. It's just an odd-looking car in general, but it's a teeny-weeny little thing. I think the real model kit's probably only about 4 or 5 inches long, so it's a very, very tiny car in real life and in scale. And also reissue of the Mazda Speed Mazda Roadster. This would be, a second-gen Miata, or second-gen MX-5, depending on what part of the world you're from. This only comes as a JDM right-hand drive car. It is not the other kit, the other just general second-gen Miata that they also sell. Keep that in mind. No left-hand drive dash, no left-hand drive wipers. This is the Mazda Speed Roadster. Was not sold in the United States, so you only get the JDM on that, which is important, I guess, if you want those god-awful 3-spoke wheels. And then lastly for this week is a brand new tool. Yes, from Tamiya, their Nissan Fairlady 240ZG kit has been released in Japan. I do not believe this is available in the United States yet. That probably has more to do with our complete total cluster at the ports in California than anything else at this point. But in Japan, this is available. Actually, in Japan, this is sold out already. If you go to Tamiya's Japanese language website, the one that's actually based in Japan, because we have Tamiya USA, we have our own distribution over here. But if you go to Tamiya Japan and in the Japanese language version of it and try to buy this kit, you cannot, because they don't have any. It's sold out over there. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't get any, and that doesn't mean that other places in the world won't get any. That just means the Japanese supply of them have sold out. It looks like it's going to be a mid-July release in Hong Kong, after it was supposed to come out around the same time as this did in Japan. So chances are, has been a problem with Tamiya this year, and it's a good problem to have for them, really, is the fact that they are having a hard time keeping up with demand of all of their kits. A lot of things have sold out especially last year in 2020. They were having a real hard time trying to keep things in stock, and obviously that's continuing with a brand new tool kit, which a lot of people were looking forward to, because this ultimately will probably make the best 240ZG that has been made in its, in history. Hobbycat also agrees with this statement, so you can take it to the bank on that. This is a full detail kit. We've shown you bits and pieces of it, runners of it, and everything in the last couple of months, so we won't rehash a lot of old territory there. I'm looking forward to getting mine, but I've got 2 more kits in Japan that need to release before I can ship over my next HobbyLink Japan box. So it'll be a couple more weeks before I get to see this and have this in my filthy little hands. I know there are people here in the United States who bought it in Japan or have already gotten a hold of it because they were shipping just a single kit and not waiting on anything else. So yeah, you should probably start seeing these pop up on forums and Facebook and Instagram and things like that, especially Japan-based builders themselves. And looks like, from the instructions, from tooling I've seen of it, again, don't have it in my hands to fully inspect in person, looks like they're going to do the rally version, the infamous Safari Rally winning car, which to me, I don't know, it's just, the ZG in a full detail sense is something that was kind of sort of missing, right? The Fujimi kit exists. It comes with 2 engines, the regular 240Z engine, and as well as the engine out of the 73 GTR, which was used in the Z432Rs. But it doesn't have any inner fender wells. You have to cut the hood off the model because it's not modeled with the hood open, and then you have to construct an engine bay because none of those parts are included. It just comes with a couple of engines. So it's a solution, but not a really great one. This, being a Tamiya kit, it's going to be a shake and bake type of thing. Throw the parts in the box with paint and glue, come back the next day, and the model's already done for you type of deal. Plus, it has a full detail engine. It's quite comprehensive, actually. It's not one of these engines they've done recently where they've thrown a bunch of parts at it. This is a classic car, not a modern sports car with just a rear window that you see just a little bit of the engine through. So this has quite a bit of an engine, quite a bit of engine detail to it. If they were to make the rally car, that would be kind of interesting because they would have to jack this thing up on its off-road suspension. They would have to include the other engine included in it as well, and there's a number of changes to be made. So yeah, I'm very interested in that conversion and seeing, like I said, seeing this kit in my hands to see if that conversion is really sincerely possible. It's kind of surprising to me that they would go necessarily that direction with it. The Fujimi kit, or the Hasegawa kit rather, of the Safari Rally car is kind of old at this point. True, it's not full detail either, also true, but it's kind of the established kit. Like, if you wanted to make a Safari Rally winning ZG or a 240Z, you probably have bought that kit. You probably have built that kit already because it's been around since prior to my high school graduation. So it's many, many, many years in its availability. It just got renewed a couple of years ago with cartograph decals in it. I don't necessarily see where you would need another one. Also, with the scuttle panel being a separate piece on this kit, that would lead me to think that you would easily be able to make this into a regular 240Z, throw Datsun logos at it, and distribute it as a U.S. export car. Because remember, Nissan Fairlady is the name of the car in Japan. ZG is the trim level, 240 is the engine description, right? It's a 2.4 liter inline engine. That engine, the numbers with a Z go through until the brand new one. The 400Z, the new car that's supposed to come out next year, does not going to have a 4.0 liter engine in it. But the 240 through the 260, 280, 300, and 350, 370, those have been the engine sizes, much like a BMW. Those have been the engine sizes all the way through in terms of what the engine size was. 2.4, 2.6, 3.0, 3.5, 3.7, so on and so forth. So you could very easily delete the arrow nose. The fender flares are separate pieces because fender flares are not on a regular 240 either, and sell it as a U.S. export car as well. You could do the rally. Having the scuttle panel be separate, you could do the Monte Carlo rally, which is the other Hasegawa kit that was done that converted their old Fairlady into a left-hand drive car, which they, of course, have released as a U.S. car. I'm interested to see what the other tooling version is. So on the way out here, my thoughts on this are, Tamiya kits always have 2 releases. Always. Every single one. Even if it's only a clear body. Or a colored body. Like some of the Ferraris have come in yellow as opposed to and the original thing. Some of the other things like the LFA's had a clear body. The 911 GT1 had a clear body, but also the Carrera had a clear body. But every Tamiya kit comes with 2 different versions. They're baked into the tooling from the beginning, so there will be something else that they do with this kit. The Ford GT, could that? Well, it wouldn't technically surprise me if they did the other Ford GT, the sort of road-going track day car that Multimatic put together, the white car that has the orange and red-blue stripes on it, because they've done an RC version of that, and that would be the other thing you could do with the car, because doing a race car would be pointless at this juncture with the Revell kit being out for so long. And you've seen with other things that they've done, there's always sort of two versions. And there's usually never more than two, which again gets into that thing about the AMG GT3, because the second version will be the Super GT version, and I really want that updated Evo version. But we'll see what happens. Did see, unfortunately, that due to the coronavirus and the headquarters for Tamiya, they're not sending Tamiya USA to the NNL Nats anymore. NNL Nats, the IPMS Nats rather. So they're not going to be in Vegas. That's kind of a little bit of a disappointment, because I really did want to, apply a little peer pressure at the show in person to some of the Tamiya reps to do that Evo. It's really only about 8 different pieces, and so much of the kit doesn't even need to change. But I guess that is what it is in the global sense. Obviously, the restrictions have pretty much lifted, even in California, by August. I would think they would be able to travel without any kind of restrictions, but corporate governance is corporate governance, and the word has come down from the headquarters in Shizuoka that they are not going to be at the Nats. So, as of this recording, the Nats are 9 weeks away, and we will see you guys on the other side.